Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy.
How can you truly enjoy the meal unless you know the flavor? Welcome back, ABL fans. This is Big Earl, your trusted voice in Action Baseball League analysis, coming at you with our 16th installment of Deep Dive 25. Watch your fingers, because we're about to slice, dice, and dissect all the nuances of this great league. A nod of appreciation to the sports journalist at the Seattle Times for your old-school, factual approach. Your concise and clear reporting on the team is both informative and a pleasure to follow. Okay, ABL fanatics, let's do this. Whether it's the Western Wildcards, the Eastern Powerhouses, or the Central Workhorses, we're covering it all. See it for yourself. The Seattle Comets of the ABC's Western Division, a team that embodies the spirit of unpredictability. Under the guidance of a temperamental yet visionary owner and a GM with an eye for potential, they've crafted a narrative of resilience and surprise. Their coaching staff, led by a small ball strategist, molds a roster that's a blend of seasoned wisdom and raw talent. The Comets, with their financial strength and fluctuating fan loyalty, remain an enigma, capable of both startling triumphs and baffling missteps. If you're one of those folks who can't get enough of the nitty-gritty, the ins and outs, the ups and downs of ABL baseball, then this deep dive is for you. It's like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You never know what treasure you're gonna find. Grab a cup of robust Seattle coffee and tune into the rhythm of the rain, because we're delving into a team as dynamic and diverse as Seattle's vibrant music scene and the majestic peaks of the Pacific Northwest.
Question 1. How does the owner's personality and negotiation style influence the team's culture and performance?
The Seattle Comets balancing act, a blend of control, youth, and uncertainty. The Seattle Comets, part of the American Baseball Conference, are a fascinating study in contrasts. At the helm is owner Tony Manning, a 68-year-old with 29 years of experience and a penchant for control. He's ecstatic about the future, but mainly aims for a .500 season and a specific upgrade at second base by 1983. Manning's management style is lenient and hands-off, but his negotiation style is temperamental and controlling, a mixture that reverberates down the ranks. General Manager David Suarez is a 45-year-old newcomer with a personable demeanor, while Field Manager William Ross, 43, brings a decade of experience and a penchant for small ball strategy. Ross is also tagged as controlling, potentially setting the stage for a clash or synergy with Manning. Bench coach Jared McDevitt, 47, is a wild card, temperamental and inexperienced. The team thus presents a cocktail of seasoned and unseasoned figures, each with distinct personality traits, under a profit-focused ownership. The Comets are a team balancing on the edge of potential and pitfalls as they aim to meet the modest objectives set for them. Keep an eye on them, they're a narrative you won't want to miss.
Question 2. What roles do the front office and coaches play in the team's success or struggles? Are they aligned with the owner's vision?
The tightrope walk of Seattle Comets leadership. In the complex world of the Seattle Comets, General Manager David Suarez is charged with talent acquisition and day-to-day operations, potentially complementing owner Tony Manning's controlling but hands-off approach. Field Manager William Ross, responsible for in-game decisions and player management, employs a small ball style that could harmonize with Manning's modest .500 season aim. However, both men's controlling personalities could either sync or clash. Bench coach Jared McDevitt, tasked with tactical input and player morale, brings a temperamental nature that could either stabilize or complicate Manning's own mood swings. With various coaches aimed at player development and specific tactics, their effectiveness in executing Ross's strategies will directly affect Manning's goals. While on paper, the front office and coaches could align with Manning's vision, the potential for personality conflicts looms large, making the Comets season an intriguing high-stakes affair.
Question 3. How does the team's financial health reflect in its performance?
The financial paradox of the Seattle Comets. The Seattle Comets boast a substantial payroll of $6.59 million and an even larger budget of $12.3 million. With a hefty $7.05 million earmarked for trades, they possess financial muscle but lack on-field payoff. Despite a big market and good fan loyalty, a recent dip in 30-day fan interest signals potential trouble. Attendance sits at 88.55% of stadium capacity, suggesting room for growth. Overall, the Comets are an intriguing mix of financial prowess and untapped potential, leaving fans and analysts alike questioning if they're truly maximizing their resources for on-field success.
Question 4. How has fan interest evolved over time, and what does it mean for the team's revenue and player acquisitions?
The waning pulse of Comets fan interest, a fiscal and strategic dilemma. Over the past decade, the Seattle Comets fan interest has ebbed from a robust 95 to a decade-low 81 in 1981, signaling a potential crisis for the franchise. This decline has direct repercussions on revenue streams, including a lackluster merchandise revenue of just $161,967. Despite having over $7 million designated for trades, this waning fan enthusiasm puts owner Tony Manning in a bind, splurge to rekindle fan interest or adopt a conservative fiscal approach. This faltering fan commitment not only threatens gate receipts but also jeopardizes the team's ability to attract top talent. The waning fan interest serves as a critical wake-up call for a franchise in need of reinvigoration.
Question 5. What is the current mood among the fan base, and how could it impact the team in the short term?
The ticking clock of Comets fan mood, a short-term imperative. Seattle Comets fans, residing in a big market with good loyalty, are growing restless. Their interest has slipped to an all-time low of 81, with a recent 30-day drop of 3 points. Stadiums are about 89% full, suggesting room for growth but also a looming revenue challenge. This cautious optimism mixed with frustration could either galvanize the team into making bold moves or contribute to a mid-season performance slump. With the clock ticking, the immediate choices made by the Comets front office could dictate whether they capitalize on this unsettled fan mood or let it deteriorate further, impacting both morale and revenue.
Question 6. How is the team faring in the league standings, and what factors are contributing to their performance?
Seattle Comets' uneasy balance, mediocrity, and missed opportunities. The Seattle Comets find themselves in a precarious position in the American Western Division with a 9-10 record, barely missing the 500 mark that owner Tony Manning aims for. Their run differential stands at a concerning -28, indicative of a pitching staff that has allowed 100 runs, overshadowing the 72 they've scored. A middling strength of schedule at 5-12 suggests they're not facing easy opponents, but they're home, 6-7, and away, 3-3, records imply missed opportunities. Currently on a 2-game losing streak, the Comets appear to be a team that's neither seizing their home advantage nor making a mark on the road. In short, they're a middling team grappling with significant flaws, especially in their run game.
Question 7. What are the team's odds of making the playoffs on a divisional and conference level?
The long odds, Seattle Comets' slim playoff chances. With a sobering 0.1% chance of taking the grand championship and only a 3% probability of winning the division, the Seattle Comets face steep odds for postseason play, a mere 7.7% likelihood. Equally concerning is their 6.9% chance of finishing with the league's worst record, nearly mirroring their playoff odds. These numbers paint a grim picture for the Comets' playoff aspirations, signaling a need for urgent action from the team's front office. In a season that spans 162 games, the odds are not in their favor, casting doubt on the team's ability to make a significant impact in either the division or the conference.
Question 8. How do base runs and ELO ratings paint a picture of the team's true strengths and weaknesses?
The fizzle factor, Comets' base runs and ELO ratings expose gaps. According to base runs, the Seattle Comets are performing roughly as expected offensively with 72 actual runs scored against an expected 73. The concern lies in defense, where they've allowed 100 runs versus an expected 98, leading to a dismal expected win percentage of 0.364. ELO ratings paint a similar picture of inconsistency. Starting the 1981 season at 1,483.7, they showed a brief surge with a 30-day increase of 9.6 points but negated this with a 7-day dip of 9.3 points. These metrics underscore a team that is neither particularly potent offensively nor reliable defensively, struggling to maintain any momentum they gain. In the ABL, such mediocrity could spell a season of unfulfilled potential.
Question 9. What does the team's WAR indicate about its most valuable players?
The one-trick pony, Comets WAR highlights pitching, exposes batting woes. The Seattle Comets WAR stats tell a lopsided tale. With a pitcher WAR of 1.83 and a near-zero batter WAR of 0.01, it's evident that the team's pitchers are carrying the load. The total WAR of 1.84 is barely above water, aligning closely with their actual win count of 9 compared to an expected 7.16 based on WAR. In short, the Comets' most valuable players are unequivocally their pitchers. While their arms may be strong, their bats are virtually silent, a precarious imbalance in a league where well-roundedness usually prevails.
Question 10. How have injuries impacted the team's performance and depth?
Navigating the injury minefield. Comets' health affecting depth and performance. The Seattle Comets rank 13th in the league for injuries, enduring 2 players on the injured list who have collectively missed 42 games. With $24.6 thousand in salary sitting on the disabled list, the team is feeling the strain on multiple fronts. While not catastrophic, these injuries add another layer of challenge to a team that's already grappling with mediocrity. The sideline players not only drain financial resources but also test the depth and resilience of the roster, adding pressure to the remaining active players.
Question 11. What do the team's batting statistics reveal about its offensive capabilities?
The Comets' offensive mediocrity, a deep dive into batting stats. The Seattle Comets present a portrait of offensive averageness. With 72 runs scored and a batting average of .257, they're squarely in the middle of the pack. Their lack of power is evident, sporting a modest slugging percentage of .373 and a mere 10 home runs. While their strikeout and walk percentages, 15.5% and 7.81%, respectively, indicate they're making contact, the absence of game-changing hits is glaring. Metrics like isolated power, 116, and on-base plus slugging, 695, affirm their lack of offensive dynamism. The team's batting average on balls in play, BOBIP, sits at a neutral .296, indicating neither good nor bad luck is a factor. All in all, the Comets' bats are more pedestrian than potent, lacking the firepower to be a genuine threat in the ABL.
Question 12. How does the pitching staff stack up against divisional and conference competition?
Pitching woes. The Comets struggle on the mound. The Seattle Comets pitching staff is underperforming, evident by a high ERA of 4.72 and a fielding independent pitching, FIP, of 4.44. They've allowed a concerning 100 runs, backed by a less than impressive strikeout-to-walk ratio of nearly 1.5 to 1. Home runs allowed stand at 14, further dimming the picture. Opposing batters are finding it easy with an average of .296 and an on-base percentage of .373. While a left-on-base percentage, LOB percent, of 69.6% indicates some capability to strand runners, it's a small consolation in an otherwise bleak scenario. Simply put, the Comets' pitching staff is struggling to hold the line, posing a significant challenge as they face divisional and conference rivals.
Question 13. Are the team's fielding statistics a strength or a weakness?
Fielding flaws. The Comets' defensive shortcomings. The Seattle Comets are struggling defensively, marked by a negative zone rating of -2.54 and a low defensive efficiency of 0.67. They've committed 13 errors, further undermining their fielding prowess. While they've managed 24 double plays, it's a minor respite in an overall dismal picture. The outfield isn't scaring runners either, with only 3 assists in 513 innings played. They've allowed 12 stolen bases out of 22 attempts but managed to throw out 45.45% of runners, a mixed bag at best. Simply put, the Comets' fielding is a distinct weakness, offering more holes than a Swiss cheese defense.
Question 14. What do base running stats say about the team's tactical approach?
Playing it safe. Comets' base running lacks boldness. The Seattle Comets' conservative approach on the base paths is clear. 10 stolen bases and 6 caught stealings result in a modest stolen base percentage of 62.5%. Their weighted stolen base runs, WSB, stand at a near 0.02, confirming that base running is not a significant factor in their game. While they accumulate singles and walks, their reluctance to take extra bases or gamble on steals limits their ability to pressure the defense. In summary, the Comets' cautious base running strategy aligns with their middling performance in other areas, offering neither significant risk nor reward.
Question 15. Who are the standout performers in batting, and what do their stats reveal?
A few shining stars amid Comets' struggles. The Seattle Comets have some standout performers worth noting, even as the team grapples with its overall performance. Young first baseman Alex Bautista leads the pack with an eye-popping OPS of 1.058 and a batting average of .367, showcasing both power and consistency at just 23 years old. Du Hyun-Woo, the 31-year-old third baseman, exhibits excellent plate discipline with a 16.44% walk rate and maintains a respectable OPS of .821. Left fielder Adam Wilson, despite a paltry .200 batting average, makes his plate appearances count with a 17.14% walk rate. Right fielder David Oldwin rounds out the list with a balanced performance, carrying a 749 OPS and showing some speed with 7 stolen bases. While these individuals shine, they can't carry the team alone. The Comets will need a collective effort to make significant strides in the ABL.
Question 16. Who are the key figures in the pitching staff, and how do they influence games?
The mixed bag of Comets pitching staff. The Seattle Comets pitching staff features a stark contrast between promise and concern. Rene Oregon stands out as the ace with a 4-0 record and a 3.45 ERA, although his fielding independent pitching, FIP, suggests he's benefited from some good fortune. Tony Miller is another bright spot, sporting a 3.60 ERA and a promising FIP of 3.33, but his high walk rate raises red flags. On the other end of the spectrum, Ricardo Sanchez and Antonio Romo are liabilities, with ERAs exceeding 7 and negative wins above replacement WAR values. In essence, the Comets have a pitching staff that mirrors a vehicle with a strong engine but flat tires, good for short bursts but not reliable for the long haul.
Question 17. Who excels in base running and fielding, and how do they impact the game's outcome?
The Comets game changers in base running and fielding. In the Seattle Comets lineup, David Oldwin stands out as a base-running dynamo with 7 stolen bases and a stellar 87.5% success rate, providing a disruptive force on the base paths. On the fielding front, Bobby Aparicio dominates with a zone rating of 1.091, while Pedro Medina boasts a flawless fielding percentage. Luis Otero and Du Hyun, who also contribute solid defensive metrics, making them reliable figures in the field. Collectively, these players bring a tactical edge to the Comets, excelling in the oft-overlooked aspects of baseball that can tip the scales in a closely contested game.
Question 18. What does the team's age demographic reveal about its experience and future potential?
The age factor, Seattle Comets' balance of experience and potential. The Seattle Comets field a major league team averaging 29.44 years, with a pitching staff leaning older at 31.19 years, signaling seasoned mound presence. Batters, with an average age of 28.04, are in their athletic prime. AAA players are slightly younger, notably in the pitching department, offering potential midseason boosts. AA and Class A squads skew much younger, indicating a pipeline of emerging talent. Overall, the Comets blend experience with future prospects, poised for both current competition and long-term development.
Question 19. Who has had the best batting and pitching games, and what do these performances signify for the team?
Spotlight performances, signs of brilliance amid team struggles. David Oldwin led the pack with a game score of 75, racking up 4 hits, 1 home run, and 3 RBIs in a win against Las Vegas. Antonio Luciano wasn't far behind, producing 4 hits and 4 RBIs against Pittsburgh. Young gun Alex Bautista made his mark despite a loss to Nashville, showing promise with a home run and 2 RBIs. On the mound, Tony Miller stood out with a complete game shutout against Portland, allowing just 3 hits and 0 walks, earning a game score of 94. These performances illuminate the Comets' potential for individual brilliance, even if team consistency has yet to materialize.
Question 20. What does your gut tell you about this team in the 1981 championship season and the Grand Tournament of Champions?
Gut check on the Seattle Comets' 1981 championship run. The Seattle Comets are a middling but hopeful 6th-place team in the 1981 ABL season, boasting a solid bullpen and a standout ace in Tony Miller. Offensively, they rely on David Oldwin and Antonio Luciano to put up runs. While they're contenders for the divisional playoffs, they lack a standout feature to dominate in a 7-game series like the Grand Series. However, key performances from players like Oldwin and Miller could make them dark horse champions. Fan support could prove to be an X-factor in a decisive Game 7. Overall, the Comets season promises to be an unpredictable but exhilarating ride.
Question 21. What is the team's history in the Grand Tournament of Champions?
Seattle Comets' sporadic dance with postseason history. The Seattle Comets have tasted the Grand Tournament of Champions twice in their history. In 1975, they bowed out to the Houston Mavericks in the ABC Divisional Championship Series. They returned to the same stage in 1979, besting the Pittsburgh Express, only to be tripped up again by the Mavericks in the Conference Championship. With a track record of making it but not breaking through, the Comets entered the 1981 season with something to prove and old foes to potentially confront.
Question 22. What is the team's history in previous seasons?
Seattle Comets, a decade of peaks and valleys. Over a decade in the ABL, the Seattle Comets have experienced varying fortunes. They started strong in their inaugural 1972 season with an 87-75 record, but have oscillated between promise and disappointment since. 2 playoff appearances in 1975 and 1979 remain the pinnacle of their achievements, yet championships elude them. Financially sound, with a rising attendance and a peak payroll of $7.8 million in 1980, the franchise's investments have yet to yield the ultimate prize. Stats indicate modest batting averages and middling ERAs, but the current 1981 season's inflated 4.72 ERA raises concerns. With a 9-10 record this season, the Comets find themselves at yet another crossroads, weighed down by their history but not ruled by it.
Question 23. What's your take on last season?
The Seattle Comets' 1980 season, a symphony of missed notes. The 1980 season for the Seattle Comets was a study in disappointment, finishing 4th with a 74-88 record despite a high payroll of $7.8 million. Attendance dipped to 1,858,656, reflecting fan disillusionment. On-field performance was lackluster, a paltry team batting average of .245 and a middling ERA of 3.66 showed neither the bats nor the arms were up to par. A below-average BOPIP of .266 suggested even luck had abandoned them. Coming off a first-place finish in 1979, the season not only dashed high fan expectations but also raised alarms about the team's trajectory.
Question 24. How does what happened in the 1980 season reflect on the 1981 early campaign?
The 1981 season, under the shadow of 1980, a tenuous start. The Seattle Comets' tepid 9-10 start in 1981 echoes last year's underwhelming performance, with the team sitting 5 games back in 3rd place. The pitching staff's ERA has surged to an unsettling 4.72, a worrying leap from last year's already mediocre 3.66. Batting average sits at a modest .257. The cautious mood stemming from 1980's disappointment seems to loom large, possibly affecting on-field performance and decision-making. Financial pressures from last year's high payroll could be tightening the screws, while waning fan engagement, evidenced by a modest early attendance of 296,989, adds another layer of concern. The Comets' 1981 campaign, both mental and statistical, is heavily influenced by the shadows of their 1980 missteps.
Question 25. What is your take on the current roster?
1981 Seattle Comets, a roster of hits and misses. The Seattle Comets' 1981 roster reveals a team grappling with inconsistency. In pitching, Rene Organ shines with a 4-0 record and 3.45 ERA, but exhaustion looms. Tony Miller and Antonio Romo languish with ERAs above 3.60 and 0-2 records, while Ricardo Sanchez struggles with a 7.30 ERA. Closer, Sergio Lopez is the bullpen savior with a 0.00 ERA and 7 saves. In the batter's box, Luis Otero disappoints with a .200 average, while Luis Chavez intrigues with a .444 average in limited at-bats. Infielders Alex Bautista and Du Yun, who provide power and consistency, respectively, but Luis Rodriguez needs a turnaround with a .130 average. Outfielders David Ogwin and Bobby Aparicio show promise despite Aparicio's strikeout woes. The lineup against both right-hand pitching and left-hand pitching lacks batting depth. A torn labrum sidelining Bobby Johnson for 6 months adds to the injury woes. After a forgettable 1980, the Comets' current roster has talent but also glaring holes, raising questions about the season's trajectory. Well, there you have it. Your up-close and personal deep dive into the Seattle Comets. We've dissected their strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. We've peeked into the owner's suite, dug into the dugout, and even scoped out the fans in the bleachers. And let me tell you, what a ride it's been. Like a well-pitched game, we've covered all the bases, but remember, baseball is a game of unpredictability. Just when you think you've got it figured out, it throws you a curveball. The Seattle Comets, a team navigating the regular season with the unpredictability of a jazz ensemble, but in the Grand Tournament of Champions, their tune often falters. Will this be the year they harmonize their talents and capture the spotlight, or will they remain an ensemble that can't quite lead the ABL's symphony? The Comets' tale is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be a page-turner. Big Earl here, folks. keep your eyes peeled for future reports as we navigate through the twists and turns of another gripping ABL season. So, whether you're a fan of the Comets or just love the game, the best is yet to come. Until next time, this is the game. See it for yourself.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
See it for yourself.
How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world? You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.